Some More Good News Season 2 is all about people doing good through following their passions, good for their own souls and for others. I'm Kate Chericello, and welcome to today's episode. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world.
Today's episode of Some More Good News, we have Ahnastasia Albert. She is coming to us from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but I know her from when she was in New York. She is an actor, a singer, dancer, and throughout the pandemic, she has dove into the world of podcasting and has been so successful with her Luxury of Self-Care podcast, and has also been giving us a lot of free yoga content as well along the way. She's a wonderful, upbeat person, but I will let her give you more of her background. So thank you so much for being here today, Ahnastasia.
Thanks for having me, Kate. This was a true treat. It was great to have you on my show. It's fun to collab and share these different platforms that we both created, which is always an interesting thing to do. I think it's a great way for us as performers to kind of utilize our skills off stage, but on our own version of a stage, which is an amazing platform to be a part of. And I love watching you thrive in it as well. But,
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yes, if you check out episode 60, I talk with Anastasia about kind of the other half of my life in the fitness world. And so it has been neat to kind of take all the different areas of our lives and weave them together. Hey,
Yeah.
Anastasia, will you just tell us more about who you are and what you do in your own words?
Absolutely. I think it's such an interesting question to hear that, because I do work for Lululemon and I work as one of the leaders here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And one of the things that I have noticed that I was getting feedback a lot, positives and negatives, right? We very much stress on that. And I think the beauty of that is I've been in interviews for different positions, one for a leader position and one for another one of our educators. And in that, my boss has been on the line with me and gives me such a lovely introduction. And I almost want to pocket that and be thank you so much, because you just said so many wonderful things. But one of the biggest things that has come up consistently for me is just I've been hearing a lot that this level of mentoring and this level of connecting. And I think that's something that I've always had. So to share with that, I'm a connector, I'm a mentor. I thrive in watching others succeed and being a part of that process, which is where I come into play with being a dance judge as well, and working with some studios here in Lancaster and getting them ready and prepped for competition. As you said, I came from a background of theater, so I got to do national tours, cruise ships, regional theater. I even played a principal at an opera company. It didn't sing the opera part. It was the singer-dancer track, but that was really fun. And then I'm also a partner to a wonderful man that I love, and we're getting married next year. And I run my own business, as you said, with the Luxury of Self-Care, and I'm a 200-hour trained yoga teacher. I mean, I kind of am a trick of many trades, so it's just a matter of which hat am I putting on at which hour of the day, and it's kind of how I've been living my life. So within that, I still like to be a lot of a guide into living life in a more luxurious way by finding those meditative states and being present in each moment, instead of thinking of all the different hats I have to wear, and just kind of being present at each moment in time. And here I am with you having this wonderful conversation right now. So,
and that is such a skill to develop too, right? So many people now do wear those many hats, but to be able to do that, but also be in the one you're in at that moment sounds so simple, but it's not at all. So no. Good on you for being so aware of that.
Thank you. Thanks.
And can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to this place that you are at now? Because I always find that fascinating, especially as someone who is such a multi-hyphenate and in so many directions. And just, yes, tell us more about that.
Yeah. Do you mean career-wise or location-wise?
You could do a both.
Okay, great. So location-wise, in the midst of the pandemic, I think we all found ourselves at a crossroads of some sort, whether we were losing a job, gaining an opportunity, finding that we had to make a creative moment for ourselves because we were just getting paid to sit around and do nothing. So I think when that for me had sparked some interest in my fiance kind of saying, well, at the time I had kind of left the theater world and I was in liquor sales because I had always worked in the bar scene and all this stuff, and had built up a resume and a rapport with a lot of sales reps realizing that that was something that I was actually really good at. And, we sold ourselves as actors our entire lives, and now you're just selling a product that you like or you're passionate about. So like, what's more fun than connecting with people, talking about alcohol and sharing with them like different recipes that you think you could thrive in a business and utilizing marketing skills. So I dove into that career, and then the pandemic hit, and unfortunately that ended and came to an abrupt halt. And with that, my fiance had joined the Navy, and I found myself back here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But I think to talk about how I found myself grounded as a human, I think rewinds and flashes back to turning 27. I always bring this up. I think it's such a massive year for all of us. And I remember just evolving and changing so much, and my priorities shifted, and I really had to sit down with my thoughts and start to realize, like, what are my actual core values? And that doesn't just happen overnight, friends. Like, it doesn't. You have to like sit down and do the work, and you have to mentally do meditations, and you have to journal and read and ask for feedback and evaluate yourself all the time. So I think I've found myself to be a much more grounded, level-headed human, and that's because I choose to work on myself personally, whether that's with a therapist or it's with a coach, or it's just like hitting the gym and burning off some steam, or getting that energy level boost that you get from going to those classes. So I think coming back to finding myself as the grounded human I am today, that can mentor, can give advice, and can connect and be successful in what I feel I've built, is because I can just feel like my pelvic bowl just seated a bit more, just really grounded and in that moment. So I think it's taken life experience, but age, like a fine wine, I've gotten better with age. And I just think as like time goes on, you really start to actively listen. So I think actively listening is something I did more as an adult, as opposed to just like jumping in when I wanted to. I realized sometimes I could take the back seat and learn just as much.
Very good. And Anastasia, now with the past year of the pandemic, you've done so much. At the beginning of your last answer, you're like, oh, we had to figure out something creative. You went above and beyond that. And I know that you are running in 1,000 directions. You can take this however you want, but how did your world change during the pandemic? I know you mentioned going from New York to Lancaster, and of course the whole arts world stopped, and you created a podcast. How did that come to be, and how does your world look different now? And is there anything that you hope remains the same, like a change for the better?
All really good questions. I want to make sure I hit each one of the points. So is there something that changed that I hope stays for the better? I think with Doug being gone, it was really hard for me to remember what it was like to be an independent, and I was always so bad at that. I think with every other relationship I was ever in, which wasn't many, to be honest, I was like, I don't want to use the word controlling, but like I was still in control. And so I was always like very individual and independent. And I kind of lost that sense of independence because I finally like actually leaned on someone and opened up that wall. And within that, sometimes you realize like losing yourself in that wall, in that moment in time, you can understand that you can rediscover who you are. I mean, that's like what I'm trying to get at. So something that I've really refound was rediscovering who I am when I'm alone, when I'm forced to be alone, because I love to recharge with people. And unfortunately, like I had time where we were just writing letters to each other, or not every night we can talk to each other. So I think remembering and reminding myself to check in, like I've been able to check in with myself much more because I haven't had to just share my day with my partner. So that's something that I want to keep a hold of. Like time and space for me is just as important as time and space with other people. So that's that one thing. How did I create the luxury of self-care? Well, going off of that, you're in this tiny apartment, which you and your husband well know. Yours is a little smaller than mine. We were talking about it, but we know. And I think what happened was I'm an extrovert and he's an introvert. So again, falling off the path of how we recharge. And I was like, this is the best. I'm around my dog. Our bills are paid. We were able to cook dinner. Always wanted to see him and talk to him about every little detail. And he was like, I just need you to be in another room. So it kind of blossomed out of necessity. But it also blossomed because I was like, well, what's stimulating everyone else? Like I was listening to all these podcasts every day and going on these long walks by myself, but I felt like I was having these super interesting conversations with some of my closest friends that I was like, I want to be on the fly on the wall for this conversation. And so I was hearing podcasts and hearing things that were being asked, and I was like, well, I find that my life tends to be more luxurious, or I find more things in life when I'm able to have these conversations and connect through and navigate through conversations of finding an answer. So that's what blossomed the very first episode, which was what's stimulating you. And then that immediately followed with accepting the love we think we deserve. And still to this day, like that second one is one of the most highest listened to episodes, because I think it is just that. It's a word that we hear. It's all the time, and I only can speak from but the amount of conversations I've been able to have with people about them finding love, and not just, I mean, love for yourself. So I talk about like body love and self-love just as much as finding a partner in life love, because I think we can only move forward and actually celebrate with someone in our lives if we know how to love ourselves. Like no one's out here to make you happy. Like you got to make yourself happy first, and they're just there to celebrate with you that happiness and to add to it and to challenge you. So that is kind of how the luxury of self-care blossomed. And then I think there was one more point you wanted to make, and I really wanted to hit it.
Just the overall, like the change of your world during COVID, which you have hit on a lot.
Yeah.
In ways, but if there's anything else.
Well, the one thing is, I come from an extremely wonderful, but let's say judgmental, reactionary family, and being away from them since I was 17, and now living in very close to them. They're so wonderful and they check in a lot, but there's a lot of things, and I in order to train my parents and train myself around them, so I didn't kick and scream when they would push my buttons, because all it did was make energy worse. So that was like one of another like big episodes I had to talk about, like getting your parents to respect you, and like I had to learn to share less even though I see them so much more.
Interesting.
Yeah. So wonderful parents. Their heart is out there for me to have the best life I could possibly have, but I had to learn what to share, when to share, and how much.
Interesting. So much about
changed a lot.
Yeah, so much about relationships. It sounds like too, with yourself, with your partner, with your family, throughout this past year has changed so much. Yeah. And you've gotten time. It sounds like you've gotten a lot of time to be able to like think about it, and then you can speak about it so well too. And you can tell that you've been diving into the why of yourself and the how of yourself and all of that, which I think is so needed for people. And so many people don't take that time to do that work because it's work, or we don't get it. Yes. Right. Yes.
So making space for it, even when you don't get granted a pandemic, which I don't know if the word granted and a pandemic should even be in the same sentence, but
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like it caused us all to stop. So however you want to think about it, really reflect back and see like how you changed over this past year. I think that's such a great question, Kate, like truly, because we all have some minorly and they might not even be able to peg it, and some massively.
Most definitely. And that leads into my next question, which is, your podcast is such a great example of goodness that we need, because you took the time to make people think about those topics. So are there any examples from your work with your podcast or just life in general of goodness of people, maybe people's days that you've made that, you've received notes from the podcast, or people that have really affected you? The overall theme is good news here. So anything you want to share about that?
Oh yeah. I think one of the biggest, it's so lovely to like, thank you so much for cheerleading me on through this journey, and like right back at you, like absolutely. But it's nice to hear that. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that I've always recognized for me, is that when I have like a PR reaching out to me, which again, today I opened my email and I had like 6 different PR agents trying to get their clients on my show, I think was kind of like this, wow, like I've created something, and I was able to like sit there and relish in that because you put in the work and you're doing the editing and you're reaching out to your friends, and some of my best friends, they are so supportive of it that they're not the people that listen to every single episode, and that's totally fine. But I think when you like come across someone who does not know you personally and like thinks what you're doing is great, and you're reading in an email or you're hearing over the phone or in a DM or whatever, the things that they like about it and why they find it of value, you're like, oh, okay, like I'm putting a little bit of good into the world. So that I feel like is that pay it forward thing. Because I think sometimes you're like relentlessly, doing all these mechanics that, aren't the flashiest part of the job, right? Like the late night edits, it didn't upload. Oh my God, I'm running out of content. What's the topic I want to do? Like whatever it is. And sometimes you feel this pressure. So I don't want to say the word getting a pat on the back, but like a detailed feedback. And I love positive or negative feedback, even prior to working for Lululemon. So that has been really amazing. And then, yeah, I don't mean to say it like that. It's not a vanity thing at all. But at the end of each episode, I believe you said it. I think every single one of my guests have said it in some way, shape, or form. But like the work you're doing is really good work. And it's the same thing here with you and this platform as well. It's like you're bringing awareness and conversation that like should be heard and should be celebrated. And I think within that, I've learned that self-care to me looks very different each day. And it really looks different on so many different people. And, for some people, it's way more fitness based. For others, it's way more like take a break based. For me, I complain that I don't have a car sometimes right now, just because it didn't make sense. It was an expense that I didn't need. And I got mad that I had to like walk 2.5 hours a day between walking my dog and walking to work and walking home from work and walking to the market. But I was like, no. I get to walk. I get to not have a car. So like coming up with those little things and realizing like I saw that as something that I had to do, but that was also such a big thing of self-care. And people have pointed out little small things where I've noticed in my life, oh, hey, this is a self-care moment. This isn't an annoying thing. So that I would say is something that I've been able to review and respect and look deeper into as a gift as opposed to a stressful thing, like another thing on the list.
First of all, thank you for that. It was a beautiful answer. And also I was listening to a podcast and it's at the tip of my brain and I can't remember which of the ones that I love this was from, but I've been obsessed with these ideas of perspective and perception. Those have been like my two favorite words this past year. And it goes right with what you said about I have to do all of this versus I get to. And sure, some days are so much easier than others to say that, but I'm so glad you said that because I've been saying it over and over again to myself, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's, no, I get to be here. Sometimes, I want to like throw New York down the Hudson River sometimes, but then you're like, no, I get to be here. Or, I get this time, even though, the world was shut down. It's like, oh, but I get this time for that self-reflection, that self-care. So I think that's just it is a very interesting topic to think about. And I'm glad you brought it up because I hope that it inspires others to stop and kind of rethink their thoughts sometimes,
Right. But it's like, again, the self-care thing. It's like we think it's the end of the night when we finally get to kick our feet up. And unfortunately, not every night looks like that. Like it just doesn't. There's so much work that needs to be had. There's a million emails. There's, everything always. Right. And then there are times where I'm like, no. The self-care in this moment is literally stop, cook dinner, watch one episode of something mindless. Right now it's New Girl for me. I've never watched that show before. And like, I'm like, just one episode. You're going to take 20 minutes of like, just doing that. Cause that's sometimes what it is. And then the other times it's like, just take a longer walk with your dog today because you're not going to get the time to do any of that. The last thing you're going to be able to do is go to bed. So enjoy the walk instead of being stressed about it, or enjoy that phone call catch up during the walk that you've been meaning to do. Whatever it is, it's like I get to have this moment where I'm able to move my body, right? You're so
absolutely
adamant about that.
And the more we consciously remind ourselves, that it becomes a little bit easier to convince
Yes.
ourselves of that each day. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Anastasia, I have one more question for you, and I know you'll have a good answer because you are a yoga instructor and you've been doing podcasts. So are there any mantras or, you-isms that you find yourself saying over and over to your guests, to your clients, to people you meet on the street?
Yeah. I like want to pull it up. I wish I could show it to you in like a share screen or
Oh,
something
you could send it to me.
scenario.
I can put it
Yeah,
into our
I will
video.
definitely send it to you. But
Okay.
it's so funny because I changed over when the new year changed. I thought, you know what, like there's so many different Instagram platforms that I actually follow that are just like fun, bad quotes. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
That's
like
fine.
fun quotes. And so I love reading them, but I never really wrote a lot, and I feel like back in the day, you would like put a picture up, but you would write like, a blog of something interesting. And I was like, as the new year rolled around, I was like, new year, new grid. I'm going to start to make some quotes. So whether it was a quote from my show or not, I ended up doing these little small things. And one of the ones, my background screen is, hold on one second here. My background screen is turn your can'ts to cans and your dreams to plans. So I use that one. And then, but that's just the background screen. But then my actual screensaver is I am ambitious, I am courageous, I am vibrant, and I'm ambitious, I'm courageous, I'm vibrant. I forget what the last one is. I totally forgot it. But there's like 3 of them and they're always on my screen so I can remind myself like throughout the day, like I can do these things. I'm capable of doing these things. Like other people think I'm vibrant. Remember that you're a vibrant human. Like we are each of these things. It was just like encouraging me in the moments in time. And like when I'm at work in the middle of dealing with stuff and I have my laptop out, or I take a break and I pull my laptop out, or I'm editing a podcast, or I'm looking at an email, when that pops up on my screen, I like have to take that 10 and just repeat those things. So sometimes each day it'll be like, I'm ambitious, I'm ambitious, I'm ambitious, or I'll just repeat all 4 of them, whatever it is. And that's something that I use a lot. Another one is just a 3 breath. Like I think a lot can be accomplished in an exhale. I say that so much. Well, there's a lot of times in life when we just keep sucking in air and we don't let out. And like there's so much that can be accomplished. Also, like you burn your most calories when you're exhaling. Like you do. You really burn the most calories. Like that's why they always encourage you to breathe when you're doing core work, because you're engaging your muscles in your core. So A, it's great for you. It's beneficial for those abs. And C, like just take the time. So I remember I would constantly like bend down when I was overwhelmed when I used to work in the bar scene and had like so many people, and you just need a breath, like literally the words, I need a breath. And I remember I would like sit down and pretend like I was getting something out of the fridge, and I would be like, it's okay. Like everyone has what you have. Like everyone needs what you have, whether it's your boss needs a drink, a server needs a drink, or a guest needs a drink. And like everyone has what you have all the tools back here. And it's just like a reminder, like we have all the tools in us to give everybody what we're capable of giving. But sometimes we just need to take a breath to remind ourselves that we have those tools to bring us to success. So taking a 3-part breath is my favorite thing to do on my walks. Square breathing, just like inhale for 4, hold for a second, exhale for 4, hold. It's really good. Honestly, like a few of those rounds is super helpful. I know this is video, so I can show you this too, but my other favorite one is your thumb and your pinky, and you'll breathe in through the one side of your nose, and then you'll switch it to the other and exhale out the other side, and then you'll breathe in that side, and then you'll switch over and exhale out.
Oh, I've not done that one.
Slows everything down, so you're bringing the oxygen up and over like a little rainbow, a little
I
happy
like
rainbow.
it.
Yeah,
love it.
So those are great little things that, like, if you only have 5 minutes, a 5-minute break, a 2-minute break, 10 seconds that you're bending down and pretending like you just dropped something on purpose so you could take a breath. Whatever it is, those are all great techniques and good mantras that I think I incorporate all the time. So, yeah.
Fantastic and so needed.
That was the other word.
Capable. I am capable.
Capable. Yeah. I was like, obviously that one. You have to say you're courageous and ambitious and vibrant, but you're also capable
Yes.
of all of these things. So, yeah.
Love it. I feel more energized just listening to you.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah. I'm buzzing on my
And
after work high.
yes, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So we want to look for your luxury of self-care podcast, your yoga classes, and to find you. Tell us where we can find you.
Okay. First of all, I'm probably the most active on social media on Instagram. So I would say follow me at rumor_in_St. Petersburg. I'm not from St. Pete, Florida. It was the opening number to Anastasia, the Universal film. So that's where that little dad joke came in for my username. And secondly, you can find the Luxury of Self-Care podcast on any listening platform. It has a little website. You can, if you are an Apple Podcast, feel free to give me a 5-star rating if you like it. Share it with a friend. I always love feedback, again, as I've been reiterating this entire interview. So if you want to leave a review, whether it's positive or negative, or shoot me a DM of things that you think would be helpful, or friends or yourself that you think you would be a great guest on the show, I'd be happy to get to know you and see if that's a possibility. And then we also have a Facebook page entitled The Luxury of Self-Care. If you're on Facebook, it basically just reposts everything that I do on Instagram. And yeah, yoga classes are kind of scarce right now. I'm working on rebranding here in Lancaster, and I used to do an event in Manhattan called Flow and Shine. So I'm actually looking for ways to incorporate local either distilleries or brands that I can bring in as an after yoga class. So it's kind of a way of connecting. Everybody brings their business cards, and you're able to take a yoga class, a very beginner to like, very, very like introduction to yoga class. So don't be intimidated. And it's followed by a cocktail hour where you would bring in your card. So I'm trying to start to bring that back into Lancaster when I get a free moment, and I can start to find a space for that and make it a more consistent thing and go into marketing that. But I'm really thrilled. And every once in a while I pop on one of my girlfriend's classes virtually at Free Heart Fitness. But if it's something that people are craving, I'm always down to do a Instagram live. So if that's something that you're like, do more, let me know, and I'll pop on an Instagram live for a class.
Excellent. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Anastasia. And thank you to your puppy. Can we just give, is it Miko or Mako?
Miko.
Yeah. Miko,
yeah.
Cute
She's
shout
all over
out.
my Instagram. She's actually currently out on her hideaway, which is the fire escape. It's like her little throne area, and she keeps guard out there. So she's out there right now, walking back and forth, checking out all the people on the streets.
Cute, living her best life.
Yeah, we love a good dog show on the Instagram. So this is just,
absolutely.
Yeah, but this is an absolute treat. I love following all your stuff that you're doing, Kate, and I was just truly honored that you reached out. It meant a lot that you wanted me to be here today. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for beautiful answers. And now on to your next project of the evening, because I know that you are pretty nonstop, but I hope you find that you time at some point today.
Oh, yes. I will be doing it while cooking dinner tonight and rearranging all these beautiful flowers I got for my birthday. So I get rid of the old and keep the still good ones. Yeah.
And happy belated birthday. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Kate.
Thanks so much for listening to Some More Good News with Kate Chericello. Whether you're listening on YouTube or via podcast, it would mean the world if you liked, subscribed, and or left a review. If you have stories of good news that need to be shared, please send me a message. Thanks again, and have a great week.